Hey guys, this is Ted with Nerdarchy, nerd stuff for nerds, and today we have our first celebrity guest, Andrew Looney, from Looney Labs. You know, game designer, programmer, game expert, all kinds of things that you want to hear about. Um, and I've been a fan of your work for many years.
Thank you.
And when you designed your games. Did you really expect them to get as successful as they are today?
Oh, no. I mean, when I first got started, I had no idea this would all lead to this. It's really quite amazing, and I feel very lucky and blessed to have stumbled into a product that's good enough to sell 1 million copies and allow us to do all the things we're doing. But no, I had no idea what happened.
Now, how long has Looney Labs been around?
Well, we started in early 1997. Late 96 was when, well, mid 96 was when I invented Flux, and that was the thing we said, let's publish a game around. And so early 97 to now, so what is it, 17 years?
Well, very
Long
cool.
time.
Now, if I remember correctly from your actual intro video on YouTube, you met your wife while you were working at NASA.
That is absolutely true.
So you say that you've actually written code for a shuttle that went atmospheric.
Well, not for the shuttle. I wrote software for the Hubble Space Telescope,
Okay.
which rode up on the shuttle in the first servicing mission on a computer called the coprocessor, and was installed in the first servicing mission and flew in space until the third servicing mission when it was taken back out.
Now,
So for a few years, I had 4,000 lines of code flying in space.
wow. Now, do you know exactly what that specific code did? Because I know that when you write code, there's always well, this takes
yeah.
care of that and that takes care
I
of
remember
this.
what it did,
Oh,
more or less. Well, basically, to go along on that, the computer system that I was involved with was being added into the existing attitude and control software, control handling computer, which was called the DF224. And so the coprocessor was added on to provide additional computing power to that very old system. And the stuff I wrote was mainly, its whole purpose in life was what we called the bootstrap. And it was just a module that would allow other stuff to be added into it. So it was just to kind of get us going and allow us to build from their platform.
Very cool. Now, sorry, I have to use a clipboard. I've
No, it's all right.
never had to do this before. Now you've made a lot of games, so obviously it means that there's a gamer at heart, inside you.
Yeah.
So what games have you played that inspired you to create the successful products that you have today?
Well, I mean, I got my start in the earliest days, like any other, as a kid, like lots of us, playing all the standard classics. Probably the game I was most, my first favorite was Sorry.
Okay.
I remember playing that with my mom, and I loved that. And I do see a little bit of Sorry in, Flux, when I look back at it now. The way each of the cards has its own special action. Action cards, it kind of fits with me.
You bump
And
someone
you
back,
got the
or-
red, yellow, blue, green pieces, which were like my original game system, the Looney Pyramids. Comes in those standard 4 colors as the baseline for that. And I don't know, I'm a big fan of a lot of other old school favorites, classic card games. My biggest favorite of classic card games is Hearts, although I'm a big poker fan as well.
Okay.
But I played all the standards, Risk, Monopoly, Clue, all those growing up, and other ones as they came along that we would get into as we discovered them. And somewhere along the line, I started making my own.
There you go. Now I'm gonna go off the games for just a moment and touch something that is really close to my heart. You mentioned in your video that you're an Eagle Scout.
That is true.
Now, I myself have achieved that glorious rank as well.
Excellent. Congratulations.
I've got over 20 years of scouting on my belt. I know it was probably a little ways ago, but do you happen to remember what your Eagle project was?
Oh, well, of course I remember. I mean, it was a big deal. I did a lot of work at the time I was very involved with my church, and I did a lot of work for that summer's Vacation Bible School.
Okay.
Helped build a big sign, advertise it, and did a lot of stuff running it that week. So that was it, my
Okay.
Eagle project. But yeah, I'm still sporting
nice.
the Philmont belt buckle right
Very
there.
very nice. I
Still carry scouting with me every day.
that's really great. Would you say Philmont would have been your most memorable experience with Scouts?
I mean, I had a lot of good times with the Scouts, but Philmont, I went twice, so Philmont definitely stood out as a high point.
I managed to
my
get to
experiences out there.
managed to get to go once myself, and
Yeah,
it's something that there's nothing else to really compare.
Yeah, it's
So-
for a Scout, it's like the ultimate experience.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, one of my questions I have today is somewhat loaded since I kind of got the answer. But for the people who didn't manage to come to the game day today, have there been any Flux ideas that have been passed on because you couldn't get the licensing, or some of the concepts were too complicated to actually get produced?
Well, I don't think the latter part of your question, there's nothing that's been overly difficult mechanic-wise. There are a couple of licenses that we've been going after that we have not yet been granted, but I fully expect that in the fullness of time, we will be allowed to publish those licensed versions that I've created games for.
Well,
that I'm
having
excited about.
having actually looked at some of the decks, I'm very excited to see what could be coming down the pike. And unfortunately, because because you guys don't have the licensing, we can't give you any more spoilers. So
Well, there are a couple of different licensed properties that we get a lot of requests to do a special version of, and so in anticipation of being able to get those rights, I've cranked out a design, and it's just a matter of time. Basically, with that kind of thing, it's you're dealing with big corporations.
Absolutely.
And it takes a while for negotiations to work out, and sometimes there are a lot of other factors involved.
Okay.
But we do have, I don't know if you already know this, but we have one license that we are excited about, which is the Cartoon Network license. And we're going to be bringing out regular show Flux this summer. So I'm very excited about that because I've become a big fan of regular show.
I
Yeah,
collect
yeah.
I
So
collect
you
all
don't
the.
know because you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen the show.
You gotta
but
get hip to
but-
regular show. It's really
But
great.
I collect all of the Flux decks that you put out there, so I will add it to my collection, and then I'll have to actually look into the actual show.
Very good.
You did program your own Pyramids video game.
That is true.
So is that something that is actually still available? For those people that would have an interest of going back in time to that style.
Yeah,
of graphics and-
it's pretty hard to find. Basically, I did software for a video game platform called the 3DO, which no one ever remembers because it failed. But it came out like a year before the PlayStation, and then the PlayStation came out and crushed it utterly, and had other problems. It was too expensive at first. But I did create a game for it called Icebreaker. It was the first game made by the studio that I went to work for. That's going to do a whole lot of 3DO games. It was the only one that came out.
Okay.
But if you can get your hands on a 3DO, send me an email. I'll send you a copy of the game.
Oh, cool. Now I did, in full favor of your products, I did actually read your novel.
Oh.
And spoiler alert for those of you who might actually decide to go read this. Sorry, but I had a couple questions in regards to that.
Oh, okay. All right. You're
no.
going to really challenge me now.
Well,
All right.
I mean,
So I wrote this novel in like 1991,
well, I mean,
The Empty City.
right. I found that Bill, the time traveler, to be quite compelling as he bounces in and out of the story after his time traveling device actually works.
Right.
And of course, he goes off and gets his stuff licensed and patented, and all kinds of craziness ensues. As a writer, did you ever contemplate what happens to Bill? Like where does he go in his future life? Is he wealthy with his patent, or does more craziness ensue?
He's such a weird character, though. I figure he just lives the rest of his life exploring the timeline, living in the future, traveling around through the past. That's what I would do. I mean, if I had a time machine, I would never stop traveling. It would always be, let's check out this one. Now it's time to go to that year, and let's check out what this historical event was really like.
I'm not going to argue with any of that. I mean, like I said, I found him very compelling, and
Cool.
Also in lieu or in addition to that, when Bill was fiddling around with the device that eventually becomes
The time shifter
traveler,
that turns into a
yes.
time machine. Yeah.
Has the thought ever crossed your mind, or was it your intention that when Doug winds up with the atomic bomb, as the reader, are we supposed to anticipate that the device made the atomic bomb work? Or was that supposed to be just a comic element? Or, you
No,
know-
I definitely wanted you to be keeping guessing throughout the whole time whether the atomic bomb would end up working or
Okay,
not.
all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that was my belief. And I'm like, okay, what's going to happen?
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
going to happen?
Especially when certain key characters are down inside the bomb shelter, and you're like, uh-oh. You know, all the pieces are in place for the bomb to work. But, you know, what does it?
Well, I want to, want to thank you for your time.
Thank
you. I've been, like I said, I've been following your stuff for a while
Well, I
now.
can tell.
I've had, one friend who introduced me to the pyramids, and another who introduced me separately to Flux, and it was one of those things to, actually be able to look, wow, these are by the same guys, and I've gone through, a lot of the stuff. I've followed, a handful of different games on, icehouse.org. I've read, a bunch of your stuff on Wonderland, and like I said, I've been a fan for a while. So I just wanted to take this time, say thank you for doing this.
You are
and,
most welcome.
It was well worth the drive to have the privilege to do this.
Awesome.
So
Well, thank you. How far did you come?
we came from South Jersey, so we're about 3 hours away. So
Well, I appreciate you making the drive down to our little event. Thank
no,
you very much.
No, thank you. So with that, I'd like to wrap this up. To my fans out there, click like, subscribe, and if you have not checked out this guy's games, they are absolutely worth it. And until next time, have a good one.
Thanks for playing my games.